Marriage will change you. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. But the goal is to be with someone worth changing for. Someone who makes you want to be better in every way, both for yourself and for them.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts, my love?
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Marriage is supposed to change you. Like, for one, you going from single to married. It's a change. Now you have to consider someone in every decision you make moving forward. Like, it's a big change. You know what I'm saying? So, I think what's funny is in the comments, people are like, well, you shouldn't need to change for somebody that you actually like or whatever. I'm like, but we all naturally, like, people change, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not the same person I was when I was 18. I'm now 32. So I just think it's funny how, like, even outside of marriage, people change. So why would anyone think that inside of marriage, you shouldn't change for the person? You know?
It's interesting because you don't get to avoid change.
At all.
Like, so to even believe that someone coming into your life isn't going to change you mm-hmm. is crazy to me. Like, we're all changing. We're all, this might sound crazy, but we're all moving one step closer to death, like, every day. Like, life is progressively changing every single day, mm-hmm. regardless of how much we see those changes or not.
Right.
And if you're living this human experience, growing through life at all, you're still changing. And if, mm-hmm. like you said, if somebody comes into your life, they should change you.
Right.
Especially if you deeply care about that person, mm-hmm. because now you have to be responsible for somebody else's life outside of your own.
Listen, people understand that concept when it comes to their kids, but they don't understand that concept when it comes to marriage. And I don't understand the disconnect there. Like, I am choosing to commit my life to you. We are making a covenant together. Why wouldn't I change? Mm-hmm. We should be making each other better. Like, when you bring a baby into the world, you're changing. Like, a lot of things you do, you can't, or were doing before you had a kid, you can't do that no more. Mm-hmm. It's the same in marriage. Like, all the stuff you did when you were single, you can't do that shit no more. Not all of it, you know what I'm saying? But right. It's like being okay, like you said, being with someone who is worth changing for. And the change is not just for you or for them, it's for your marriage in general. So if you're deciding to be with someone, you would want to impact them in a way to where they want to be a better person for themselves and for you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my desire as your wife, is to make sure I'm being an amazing version of myself for myself and for you. And that makes you want to be the same for me. And we're just growing and changing along the way. I mean, like I mentioned, like, we got married at 21. We met at 18, got married at 21. We're now 32. It would be insane for you to treat me like you treated me when we were 18.
Right.
So even down to how you treat me has changed because I have changed. So of course you had to go with the flow of how I've changed, and I've had to do the same thing for you. It's like when you say it out loud, it makes sense. But for some reason, I don't know how people cannot process that. Like when you say it out loud, I guess you have to explain it more to maybe to people who aren't married.
Right.
And I'm like, it's such an easy concept to understand to me. Maybe not to implement, but to understand, like, you can't avoid change.
At all.
At all.
And I think the downfall that so many end up finding themselves in is the fact that change ain't a bad thing. Like, we gotta get that handled first. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It's right. Like, if you are in a marriage that you've decided to be in with somebody you're doing life with, and you guys have a goal that you're going to work toward in your life and in your marriage and all of these things, mm-hmm. it's going to require you to become new people on that journey. Mm-hmm. Because if you were the person who could have whatever that goal is or that outcome already, then you would have it. Mm-hmm. So y'all have to collectively become new people together in pursuit of whatever that is.
Right.
Building the marriage into whatever you want it to be. Mm-hmm. Accomplishing whatever the goal is. Mm-hmm. Doing whatever it is that you guys find purposeful or fulfilling in that marriage. Even if it's just taking care of and serving one another, because you still have to learn how to be able to serve one another, care for one another, be able to cater to each other's needs, be it mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever the case may be. And that is a learning process. And you have to constantly be able to re-engage that, because as we grow, we're changing individually. So like with us in our marriage, I have to get to know the new version of Adoria as you grow, as you become a different woman, as you become your own, version of yourself, that you've dreamed of, or whatever the case may be. And likewise with me. So it's really unfortunate that some people will look at that as being a negative. But I think some people fall into that because they've been through so much, or they've been judged so many times in their lifetimes and viewed maybe harshly or negatively in some particular instances, to where it's not even about the marriage. It's not even about the relationships or anything. They have some unresolved issues with themselves.
I agree.
And that's more so of what they're fighting against or fighting to hold on to, more than realizing that all change isn't bad.
Yeah. And I think, like, even to add to your point, I think that some people don't realize, like, there are things about you that do need to change. Like, you are not perfect. Like, there are things about me I need to change at 18, at 21, at 25, at 32. Like, there's things you need to change in general. And for us in a marriage, it's dope to have someone with me along the way. And like, you point things out to me and we work through it together. So we all need to change in a sense to progress to be whoever we want to be in life. You know what I mean?
I think what people battle with, though, is like changing without reason, because that's what happens to most people. Most people can find themselves in a relationship, and then when change or somebody mentioning them needing to be better or whatever the case may be, it seems or feels like it's without reason, meaning that it's like they want them to just change just because they said change, or be different, or be better, or whatever the case may be. And oftentimes that's not the case. But what also messes people up is because they haven't gotten that level of clarity inside of their relationship to know where they're going to. So it's in that moment, it's just about what you want and what I want not being good enough, rather than this is what we're moving toward or what we're going toward together. This is what we want our future to look like together. And that's going to require us to grow in these areas, to be better in these areas and things like that. So it's attached to a bigger something, rather than it just being about that I don't like this about you, or you should be like this because I want you to be, or I'm trying to make you into this perfect, ideal person for me, for my own vain, selfish reasons, or whatever the case may be. And that's never usually the case. But people can look at it that way, especially when they're not in a purposeful place inside of their relationships. So it feels more like an attack, rather than me saying, or the person saying, I think that you should be better, or you should work on this, or whatever, for your own good, or in the efforts of helping us grow toward this thing that we're working toward together. And so if that's not clear for most people, it's going to be real hard for them to accept that, when so many people already struggle to like themselves. So now it's more like you ain't good enough. And like, people can take that as an attack. And it's unfortunate, but it's true, which is why it can be so difficult for people in relationships to have those types of conversations or work through those particular types of things if you haven't yet established where you want your marriage or your relationship to go, what you want the future to look like, who you're working on becoming, what type of things do you want to accomplish or go after together, whatever the case may be, because you're going to have to change. You're going to have to grow and to develop, get rid of old character traits and habits or whatever the case. Just like if you have kids, there's things that you'll need to do differently. You'll need to monitor how you carry yourself, your actions, your character, all of these particular things, because you have to be that much more conscious of the role and the impact that you're making on these little humans who are taking in everything that you're doing and how you're making them feel. And you have to learn how to be able to adjust yourself in a way to where you're giving them all of what you want them to receive on purpose. And so if people can get out of their own selfishness sometime and can really like just take a step back and just breathe and understand that like it's not always an attack on you. It's not saying that you're not good enough. It's saying that maybe some things would be more beneficial towards whatever this is, whatever the goal is, whatever it is that we're going after together, or maybe just for you, because that a particular type of character trait, habits, or way of being might be harmful to you. And we love each other, right? In our marriage.
Absolutely.
In our marriage.
Yeah.
If you see something in me that could be detrimental to my own character, my own well-being, or whatever the case may be, of course you would want me to change that.
We have both done that to each other, for each other over the years. Like, you doing something that you said you wasn't gonna do, or like this ain't going in the direction that you wanted to go. Like, that's what we're supposed to do as life partners.
Let me know what's going on.
Right. Like, it's accountability. Like, I'm responsible for you too. Like, you're responsible for me. Like, we should be pointing each other out, like pointing things out that don't align with who we say we want to ultimately be.
Yeah. And where people can struggle sometimes is they casually talk about their futures. They casually talk about the person that they want to become and stuff like that. But it's not really meaningful, and it's not anything that they've sold themselves on. So if you have an interaction with people like us, or how we are in our own marriage, like with baby girl, if you tell us something is important to you, you might forget that tomorrow, but we remember.
Right.
You might forget 6 months from now, but we remember. So when we have to tighten you up, or we have to tighten each other up, or whatever the case may be, it's because you said something, because I care about you. I heard it. It registered. Now, because you might have lost sight of it, and I still remember 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, and I'm holding you accountable to it. Don't look at me sideways. You said you wanted this.
If only people loved each other enough or cared about each other enough to hold each other accountable in that way.
Yeah.
Like, if only.
You said you wanted that.
You wanted that.
That's why I'm showing up for you. This is my opportunity
This is love.
To show you that I love you.
Yes, this is love. How dare I call you out for doing something, for not doing something that you said you wanted to do, or doing something that you said you didn't want to do? Like, what? I'm supposed to call you out in a loving way.
Yeah.
But even if you say it in the most loving, most beautiful way, some people will still take it the wrong way, because they know that they didn't fully commit to the thing.
And that's a character flaw.
And that is a them problem.
You should probably work on changing.
Exactly.
Being able to own your own crap.
Exactly.
Which is probably something you should change if you struggle with that. Case in point.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely
bringing it all back full circle. Because like none of us are perfect.
Right.
And even inside of the most meaningful, loving relationship that I feel like we strive to have for ourselves, we still constantly changing individually and together.
Yeah.
And the more we get clear on what it is that we're working towards in our own futures, the more we realize it's like, hey, you know what? This is what we've been doing. We have to stop some of these things so that way we can get to who it is that we're working to become, the future we say that we want to have together, the life we want to have, the impact we want to make, whatever. These things that we used to do last week, we can't do some of them things. These things, the way that we used to carry ourselves a year ago, we can't do that.
Right.
Because now the more clear we are, the more we have to be hypercritical about the small things that we do in the steps going toward whatever that thing is. And so the love comes into play is when we hear that from each other and we decide that we're going to commit to this thing, and now holding each other accountable to what we said we were going to do. That is our opportunity for love to be able to show up and to assist the change. Because we've chosen to change based on our future, our connectedness, our goals, what we want to have and what we want our lives to be. And so we assist the change within each other so that way we can grow to this point together. So change is necessary.
Yeah.
Especially if your marriage is meaningful, there has to be change because you're growing. Granted, you can't avoid it anyway, because what's going to happen is life is going to keep happening. Life is going to keep happening to you regardless. You don't get, if you're living, if you're breathing, you don't get to avoid life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't get to avoid. So if something happens on the job, something happens with your kids, something happens with a friend, God forbid something bad happened to a family member, whatever the case may be, that is going to impact you. And then how that impacts you is going to impact the person that you're with.
Right.
And how you work on yourself and develop yourself through those moments or whatever the case may be, like some of that stuff can change you as a person, which again can impact the person that you're with,
Right.
your relationship dynamic, all of those things. And you learn how to navigate that stuff together.
Yes.
Which is a change.
Yes.
Learning
That's
to
exact-
navigate that stuff together is a change, because if you didn't have that before and you have it now, the change is learning how to navigate that together. You see what I'm saying?
That's
It's
why you
crazy.
making so much sense is what I'm saying. Like, you're making so much
How
sense.
is this hard to understand?
It's not. And that's what be blowing my mind. Like, it's not a hard concept to grasp. Like, change is necessary.
It's just choosing to change.
Right.
Like going towards something to where you can choose the changes that happen in you proactively. Most people just don't do that, though. They're a victim of change because something happens and then they react abruptly and they just deal with the consequences of their knee-jerk reactions. And that's because that's what trauma does. It's a drastic, sudden change that you weren't prepared for that changes the way that you see the world in a way that you didn't choose.
Right.
Your knee-jerk reaction was whatever came about after the fact. You had a stimulus and a response. You changed, but you didn't choose to change. And now whatever happens in that moment, you associate whatever that stimulus was, whatever that moment was, that event, with your change. And most of the time for people, it's a negative thing.
Right.
Because in the moment of it, you can't see how it could be beneficial or positively impact you or do something like that for you in the future. Because you know how they say hindsight's 20/20. It was always 20/20. You got to let enough life work on you to be able to change that old viewpoint.
Right.
So, yeah, man, like it's not a hard concept.
It's not. It's not. Like all the changes I've made about myself for me and for us, like I'm so happy with. Like I'm so happy being who I am right now.
Right.
Yeah, like I'm glad that we got married so I could, something I've said before is I feel like you have accelerated my growth because you've helped me like pinpoint a lot of things that I didn't know about myself prior to you.
Same.
You know what I'm saying? Same. Yeah.
Same.
So it's like, it was very important for you to be in my life so I could change in the ways that I needed for myself moving forward.
Right.
With God's help.
Yeah.
Because you got to mention that because people think because if you don't say God, that God ain't in. God is in everything we got going. Everything. But anyway, but yeah, like I needed you in my life to be a part of my change. And I like, it's so unfortunate that people have had so many like not so awesome situations to where they can't see the beauty in, like, even if they haven't experienced, they can't see the beauty in someone else experiencing that. Like when you make certain posts and stuff, they're like, oh, they have to come in and victim vomit into the comment section. And I'm like, I'm sorry that happened to you, but you spewing that on us is not helpful for you
At all.
It is definitely ain't gonna impact us. I really don't care. I mean, honestly, like it's just real because it's not touching what we have going on. So the fact that people feel so compelled to victim vomit, I like that. I just made that up. Victim vomit on
it
us.
sounds as gross as it actually is.
It is. In the comments, like you need to work on yourself. Like
Change.
you need to.
You need to change.
You need to go to therapy and work on yourself so you can change and fix whatever that is because it is distorting your view of like relationships. And that's not good. At all.
I think what's so unfortunate in that is the fact that people sometimes feel that just because it's being shared or publicized or whatever it is, even in the stuff that we put out, that means that they are entitled to interact with it, or that they are just supposed to respond to it, or throw up whatever it is that they're feeling, or whatever the case may be. And it's realizing that, like, bro, just because you don't have a similar experience or haven't had one, like, doesn't discredit anybody else from having had that experience, especially when you're talking to people about their own experience.
Right.
Like, what do you look like trying to tell me what I had for breakfast when I was the one there? And I was the one that chose that. Right. You know what I'm saying? I wanted oatmeal that morning. Like, how dare you tell me that I should have had something else, or that what I had was disgusting when I chose this for me? You know,
right.
Like, stupid. Like, it's a problem. You don't know how many carbs. And I'm sounding stupid on purpose, but that's really how people be. Like, we can talk about how we are in our relationship and we love it, and people have a problem with that.
Yes.
And again, you can't help the lames. Like, they gonna do what they do anyway. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Yeah. But the reason that we even do what we do is so that way we could speak to the people that we're able to serve and that we're able to help, and to be able to connect with people who own the same energy that we own.
Yeah.
Because you already know, man, that we can't stop idiots from idioting. Like, we really can't, you know what I mean? But it's like hoping that it shines a light on the beauty of what marriage is, and just being able to share our own growth and experiences and the things that have brought us to the moments that we've had together, and like our experiences and revelations through those moments.
Right.
And yeah, man, like that's what this is about, for real.
It is.
And it's unfortunate, man, that some people can't see that. Like, it ain't saying you got to do nothing like we do. You ain't got to believe what we believe. None of that. Like, you don't have to. You can scroll right on by. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can actively avoid this. Right. Like, you can not have this in your algorithm by choosing not to respond.
Even the fact that people haven't caught on to the fact that whether you like it, comment, view it, that is considered an interaction, and the algorithm is going to think that you want to see more of it. Yeah. So if you don't want to see it, don't look at it. Past. Don't like it. Don't comment. Like, that's really how the algorithm works.
Don't interact.
It watches your patterns. So if you're looking at stuff that you supposedly don't like, it's going to keep showing it to you as if you like it. That's how it works. Social media.
It cares for what you respond to, not what you actually like.
Exactly.
Like, what gets you to respond is what gets you in. This is what gets put in your attention, feed. Your algorithm, your feed.
And then, like, even like when you say, like, you know, what gets your like response is like your views. If you're looking at it for a certain amount of time, your likes, your comments, like your shares, is paying attention to that. That is the response. So even if you bashing it, you engage with it.
You did.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know why we went that way, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, the rabbit hole opened up and we just ran down the joint. But circling back to like the main point though, I think that all of the change that we've experienced up to this point has been so transformational inside of both of us, both individually and together. And I hope that through everything that we've grown through together and what we've been able to share publicly and just be able to put out here, that people can be able to see that in us. You know what I mean? Like, in the way that we care for one another through what we share, the growth in our message and different things like that, because change really can be a beautiful thing when you've chosen, or when you choose the change that you want to undergo, and you invite that process into your life because you actually made the decision to go through whatever that is, rather than being a victim of whatever life events happen and then just doing whatever comes in that knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
Like, it's okay to have a love in your life that allows you to change and to grow and to become better, whatever the case may be. Even if it was a bad experience, that can still teach you something.
Yes.
But you have to look at it in that particular light if you can use it productively. change ain't a bad thing.
Right.
Like nothing is singularly bad. It can't be. Nothing can singularly be bad. It's like we just have to be able to live through it and find ways to be able to make whatever those experiences are or were useful. And it's really that simple.
It is.
It's simple, not easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't confuse the two. Just because something's simple don't make it easy.
Yeah.
But you want to know what is easy though?
What?
Loving you is easy.
You so corny. I like
am.
it.
It was right
I
on
like
time,
that.
too. Right on time. I'm just trying to tell you
love
what I'm
you,
trying
boy.
to told you.
Why you got me all giggly? I love you.
I love you. And we love y'all, man. We hope y'all have enjoyed this episode because we definitely enjoyed having a conversation, you know, for your own enjoyment, viewing, all of that good
Viewing
stuff.
pleasure.
All of that good stuff. But until next time, family, thank y'all so much for supporting us. My name is John Tron. This is my beautiful queen.
Adoria.
We are one dope couple. And until next time, family, peace and love.